What's going on, guys? Today I have a Breaking Bad video for you all, and I'll be breaking down the top 10 moments, in my opinion, from the entirety of Breaking Bad, and I'm really excited to give this. I feel like Breaking Bad has so many spectacular high-stakes moments, and I can't wait to see where you agree and disagree with me. Before we get started, if you end up liking this video, make sure to hit the subscribe and like button so you can see more content like this. At number 10, I have Hank confronting Walt about being Heisenberg, / just him figuring out that he's Heisenberg in general. This moment had to make my list because, at least for me, this is a moment I was waiting for really since the end of season 1. This entire time, I thought there were so many moments in which Hank could discover Walt as Heisenberg, and I think he came really close at points, and maybe the thought was even in the back of his mind during a couple conversations when he was being rehabilitated in his room, going through the pages of Gale Boetticher's work. Once he ultimately finds out that Walt is Heisenberg, it was such a crazy moment. I've never seen so much rage in Hank. He's usually so lighthearted, but he really just had so much hatred for Walt at that point because Walt not only was his family member, but had just lied to his face for so long, and Walt knew how much this case had meant to him in his career. Obviously, Walt's not going to turn himself in, but it was just all the deceiving, all the lies from Walt, someone who's supposed to be his friend, part of his family. It really hurt Hank, and it drove him off the edge. This was arguably the most intense conversation in the show, as Hank closes the garage door behind Walt so that the kid on his bike on the street doesn't see Hank really go in on Walt and, start getting physical with him. And yeah, like I said, I just think this was something I was waiting for so many seasons. And I really was just wondering, Hank has to find out about Walt, right? Like has to be the start of Walt's downfall. And sure enough, it was, even though it ended poorly for Hank in the end, of course. But yeah, I love this moment. I have it at number 10. At number 9, I have Walt running over the 2 guys that Jesse is planning to kill at the end of season 3. At this point in the show, it's so evident that Walt is juggling being cooperative with his boss, who could snap at any moment and obviously kill him, while also staying loyal to Jesse, somebody who he kind of knows he's done wrong, but he really cares about at the same time. Ultimately, without warning, we see Walt's vehicle approach and run these 2 over just as Jesse is approaching them with a gun. It was super intense, got my heart pounding. I had no clue that was going to happen. And when Walt shouts "run" to Jesse, it's an extraordinary moment. And I couldn't wait to see what came next. At number 8, I have Walt shouting to Skyler, "Where is the money? Where is the money?" which turns out to be one of the most iconic quotes from the show. This is at the end of season 4, at a time when Walt really seems to be going off the rails and kind of thinks they're doomed without this money. But of course, at the end of season 4, he kind of devises another plan. And I'll just say, we'll probably talk about that later on this list. At number 7, I have Gale Boetticher's death, which of course came at the hands of Jesse Pinkman. The scenes leading up to his death are really what makes this a special moment in the show. I feel like when Walt ran over the 2 drug dealers that Jesse was planning on killing, that was kind of his favor to Jesse, and in return, he said, "Jesse, they're going to kill me and probably kill us if you don't go kill Gale Boetticher right now." He gave him the address, and yeah, he needed him to take out Gale Boetticher, otherwise he knew Gus was planning on killing him imminently. It hurt seeing Jesse have to do this because he has a kind heart, and I don't think he ever wanted to murder someone coldly like this, but it was kind of what had to happen to save him and save Walt, who, like I said, had just done him a favor. As the 6th best moment in the show, I have Hank killing the bald twins. I kind of forget their name at the moment, but yes, that is my number 6 moment in Breaking Bad. For me, there's not too much to break down here. It was just an incredible action scene in which Hank was very nearly taken out. This scene came right after it appeared that Hank had caught a break in terms of the damage he had done to Jesse Pinkman, and he thought Jesse was going to take him for all he was worth, but then Jesse mysteriously dropped the charges, and as he was leaving from figuring out that news, he got a call that there were 2 men trying to kill him in the parking lot he was in. And yeah, he found himself in a lot of trouble, but like I said, an amazing action scene. Hank, though he's portly, though he's kind of a jokester, he definitely has high-level skills as a DEA agent, and he was able to survive this brutal attack. Before I get into the top 5, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the subscribe and like buttons. I got a lot more content about Breaking Bad, about other shows on my channel that I think you'll enjoy. All right, at number 5 is the grand confession, Walt admitting that he did it for himself, saying, "I did it for me," in the series finale. This was the moment that not only was Skyler waiting for, but we were all waiting for. Would Walt ever admit that there was a lot of selfishness in his decision making throughout the entire series, especially the last few seasons? I do think he truly started this as a way to provide for his family after he was gone. He didn't want to be someone who died of cancer and just left his family with nothing. Anyway, this confession meant a lot in wrapping up Walt's character, in bringing it full circle and showing that, yes, I kind of changed. I kind of became selfish and power hungry and just really enjoyed doing something I was good at, and that I think I deserved to do something that I was good at because I'm a really talented chemist, and turns out I'm a badass, and it turns out I'm just really good at doing this. And yeah, he admitted that to Skyler, which was jaw-dropping. At number 4, I have the Lily of the Valley reveal, which, if you don't remember, is the name of the plant that Walt used to poison Brock. Brock was Andrea's son. Andrea was Jesse's girlfriend at that point in the show. If you don't remember all this, I'm not sure how long it's been since everybody watching this video has seen Breaking Bad. But yeah, Jesse's girlfriend, Andrea, her son, Brock, was poisoned. And Walt manipulated Jesse into thinking that Gus had done this. And he did it just in such a smart way, such a conniving way, that was really believable. I believed him at the time until there was a quite obvious reveal to the audience that it was Walt who poisoned Brock. This was probably the biggest plot twist in the show. I could not believe when they zoomed in on that plant in Walt's backyard, giving it away that he had poisoned Brock as a part of a grand scheme to kill Gus Fring. It was incredible. It's just another example of how I feel bad for Jesse, though, because obviously his relationship with Walt was so complex, because I will say over and over again, and even Hank points it out in season 5 when investigating Walt as Heisenberg, he says, Jesse, can't you see? He cares about nothing, or doesn't care about destroying anything except when it comes to you. He really cares about you. And I agree 100% that he does really care about Jesse, but he also just drug him through the mud and manipulated him like a rag doll so many times, and it's just so confusing and so sad for Jesse. At number 3, I have the closing scene where Walt's plan kills Todd's family, and Jesse escapes right after, and Walt dies as the cops arrive at the house. To put it plain and simple, I don't think the ending to the show could have been much better. I don't have any other ideas for, little nitpicky things. I think it was honestly an incredible ending. I was honestly just a little disgusted at this point with where the characters were at in the show. Walt at a point where he can't even talk to his son anymore because his son hates him so much, and understandably so. I'm not blaming Walt Jr. It's just really sad to see where things are at with him. And then obviously Jesse had been a slave for the past few episodes of Todd's family, and yeah, it was just really hard to watch at that point in the show, but I did enjoy how they broke free, how Walt met his demise, and how the show wrapped up. I think it was perfectly done, and obviously you all probably know that. That's why Breaking Bad is referred to as one of the best shows ever, and that's basically a consensus because it's just beautifully done start to finish. At number 2, as the second best moment in Breaking Bad, I have Hank's arrest of Walt and then his death soon after that. This scene would take so long to explain in its entirety, but I think if you watch the show, this is where everything really came crashing down for Walt and his family dynamics, for Walt's relationship with Jesse as he admits to her that he could have saved Jane and he watched her die. Just so much happened in probably this 10 or 15 minutes of this episode where they were out in the desert and Hank thought he had finally won. He had finally brought down Walt as Heisenberg. And then Walt's call to Todd's family, which he then called off once he figured out Hank was there, because he didn't want to kill Hank, a family member. But Todd's family ended up showing up anyway against Walt's wishes as he hung up the phone. And they came and took all the money. They came and killed the DEA agents, including Hank and Gomez. And yeah, everything came crashing down, as I said. They also located Jesse, and this is where he became a slave for the last few episodes of the show, basically cooking them meth in horrible conditions. Like I said, I might not be super organized or concise in explaining this scene, but it's arguably the most heartbreaking point in the show, either this or a little bit later in season 5, where Walt's on the phone with Walt Jr., or that he admits to Skyler, things I've already talked about. But yes, this was such a heartbreaking moment, because one thing Walt definitely didn't want to happen was a family member dying, and Hank was family, as Walt repeated over and over, so he failed on his mission. And I think It was inevitable, being involved in this, that somebody he cared about would die. At number 1, the best moment in Breaking Bad, in my opinion, is Gus Fring's death in the final episode of season 4. The mastermind behind pulling this off, of course, was Walter White. Walt, of course, rigs Hector Salamanca's wheelchair with a bomb, and as Gus goes to visit him, obviously he ends up getting blown up. I think it's probably the most important moment in the show. Probably my favorite villain ever in Gus Fring gets taken down and manipulated by Walt, which had never happened in the past. I mean, Gus was always thinking 2-3 steps ahead of everyone else, but he really met a match in Walt, just finding someone else as deceitful and as willing to be as destructive as he was to get what he wanted. Not only did Walt trick Gus and get the best of him, he also manipulated Jesse, as I talked about earlier with the whole Brock situation getting poisoned. He manipulated him to help him along the way. And season 4 ends in an iconic way as Walt calls Skyler in his glory and proclaims, "I won." Alright, so these are my top 10 Breaking Bad moments. Please guys, let me know if you like this list. Let me know what other Breaking Bad videos you might want to see and what you would change about my ranking here today. Thank you guys for watching. This is Ty the TV Guy. I'll see you next time.